Emily had always believed that life in her small village would stay the same forever. She woke up every morning before sunrise, tied her hair into a simple braid, and walked across the soft, uneven fields behind her house. Her father's small farm was old, but to her, it was home. She cared for the animals, helped with the crops, and made sure her father took his medicine on time. Even though they didn't have much, Emily never complained. She understood that her father was doing his best after losing her mother many years ago. But life had been difficult lately. A terrible season of unexpected rain had destroyed most of their crops. Emily remembered watching from the window as weeks of hard work disappeared under the heavy gray skies. Her father had walked into the house that day, his shoulders low, his face lined with worry. She knew something was wrong, but he said nothing. Instead, he tried to stay strong, telling her again and again that everything would be fine. Emily wanted to believe him, but she could see the truth in his tired eyes. Unknown to her, her father had made a decision during that difficult time. He had borrowed money from a lender, hoping he could use it to repair the farm and plant again. He believed that once the next season arrived, he would repay the debt easily. But the harvest failed again, and the money was gone. Emily never knew about the loan, and her father never found the courage to tell her. He did not want to burden her heart with his mistakes. As the weeks passed, the worry in his eyes grew deeper, and Emily thought it was simply the pressure of the farm. The day everything changed began like all the others. Emily was sweeping the front yard when she heard the sound of a strong engine approaching. Her house stood at the far end of the village, where few strangers came. She straightened, confused, and looked down the dusty road. A large black truck slowly came into view, shining under the morning sun as if it didn't belong to their simple world. Emily's father stepped out of the house, leaning on his old walking stick, his face turning pale the moment he saw the vehicle. She noticed his reaction immediately and felt her stomach tighten. Something was wrong, very wrong. The truck stopped at their gate. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out. He wore a clean-buttoned shirt, sturdy boots, and a calm but serious expression. His presence was strong, but not threatening. Emily had never seen him before. Yet she could tell from the way her father swallowed hard that this man was connected to something her father feared. "Mr. Carter?" the man asked in a steady voice. Her father nodded nervously. "Yes, I am. My name is Daniel Hartley," the man said. "I'm here about the debt." The word debt felt like a stone hitting Emily's chest. She turned sharply toward her father, confusion rushing through her. "Debt? What debt?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. Her father looked away, unable to meet her eyes. He did not answer. Daniel pulled out a folder from his truck and walked toward them. He was polite, but firm. "Your father borrowed money 8 months ago. The deadline has passed. I came personally to discuss how we can resolve this." Emily stared at the papers he held, but her mind was spinning too fast to read anything. She could not understand how her father had hidden something so big from her. At the same time, she could see the guilt written all over his face. I tried to pay," her father whispered. "I thought I would be able to, but things kept going wrong." Daniel nodded calmly. "I understand, but the terms you agreed to are still active." Emily finally found her voice. "What terms?" Her father closed his eyes and sighed deeply. "The lender I went to, he had connections. Daniel bought the debt from him later. I didn't know it would reach this point." Daniel opened the folder and looked at Emily. "The agreement states that if your father fails to repay the loan, he must provide labor service on my ranch until the debt is cleared. It's legally signed." Emily felt as if the ground beneath her feet shifted. She knew her father couldn't do heavy work anymore. His health was fragile, and every day was already a struggle. She stepped forward instinctively, placing herself between Daniel and her father. "He can't do that," she said. "He's not well. He can barely walk some days." Daniel softened a little, hearing the worry in her voice. "I'm aware of his health. That's why I came myself, to see if there is another way." Emily looked back at her father, who stood there trembling, ashamed. She had never seen him look so defeated. She knew he had made mistakes, but she also knew he made them out of desperation, not greed. She took a deep breath. "What other way?" she asked quietly. Daniel hesitated for a moment, as if he was choosing his words carefully. "The contract is clear," he finally said. "If the borrower cannot work, someone from the household can take their place for the same period of time." Emily froze. Her heart thumped loudly in her ears. She understood what he was saying, but hearing it out loud made it feel painfully real. "You mean me?" she whispered. Daniel did not pressure her. "Only if you choose to. I am not here to force anything. I just need the agreement to be honored in some way." Her father stepped forward suddenly, shaking his head. "No, Emily. You won't go anywhere. I made the mistake, not you. I will handle it somehow." But Emily could see that he couldn't. There was no way he would survive the work required. And there was no money coming. Their farm was already falling apart. She knew that if she didn't do something now, everything would collapse even more. She looked at Daniel again. He stood still, waiting, respecting the silence. His eyes were serious but not unkind. Emily's heart pounded. She didn't know this man. She didn't know his ranch. She didn't know what kind of work she would be expected to do. But she knew one thing clearly. Her father had suffered enough. Slowly, she stepped closer to Daniel. "I'll go," she said softly. Her father gasped. "Emily, no, you can't." She turned and placed her hand on his arm. "It's okay, Dad. I'll be fine. You need someone here to take care of you, and the farm needs you. I can do this." Tears filled his eyes, but he had no words to stop her. She had already made her decision. Daniel looked at her with a slight expression of surprise. "Are you sure?" Emily nodded, though her voice trembled. "Yes, I'll come with you." For a brief moment, the wind seemed to quiet around them. Daniel closed the folder and gave a respectful nod. "Very well. I'll make sure you're safe and treated properly. We'll leave in an hour so you can pack what you need." Her father tried to argue again, but Emily held his hand tightly and whispered comforting words. She helped him sit down, assured him she would return once the debt was cleared, and promised that she would be strong no matter what happened. Inside the house, she packed a small bag, only clothes, a notebook, and a few memories of her mother. When she stepped back outside, Daniel waited by the truck, giving her time and space to say goodbye. Her father hugged her tightly, his voice shaking as he said, "I'm sorry, Emily. I never wanted this for you." She smiled gently. "It's okay. We'll get through this." Then she turned toward the truck, her heart heavy but determined. Daniel opened the door for her and she climbed in, taking one last look at the small home she had always known. As the truck started moving, Emily felt a mixture of fear and courage inside her. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. This moment was the beginning of a journey she never expected. A journey that would change her life in ways she couldn't imagine. And as they drove away from the village, Daniel glanced at her briefly, noticing the quiet strength in her eyes. He had come for a debt, but he was already beginning to sense that Emily was far more than the agreement written on paper. The road to Daniel's ranch felt longer than Emily expected. She sat quietly in the truck, watching the fields, trees, and distant hills pass by. Everything around her looked bigger and wider than her small village. She held her small bag on her lap, her fingers tightening around the handle every time her worries grew stronger. Daniel didn't say much during the drive, but his silence wasn't cold. It felt like he didn't want to make her uncomfortable. After almost an hour, the roads became smoother, and the land opened up into a wide stretch of open space. Emily saw long wooden fences, running horses, and workers riding across the field. The ranch looked huge, full of life and movement. She had never seen such a place before. It was beautiful, but also a little overwhelming. Daniel slowed the truck and said, "We're here." Emily took a deep breath as the large ranch house came into view. It was made of old wood but well-maintained, standing tall and strong. Several barns, gardens, and stables surrounded it. The workers paused what they were doing when they saw the truck arriving. Some nodded to Daniel, while others simply watched with curiosity. When the truck stopped, Daniel got out and opened the door for her. Emily stepped onto the gravel road, her shoes crunching lightly. She felt dozens of unfamiliar eyes on her. She didn't know if she should smile or look away, but she kept her expression calm. Daniel spoke to the workers standing nearby. "This is Emily. She'll be staying and helping here for some time." The workers nodded politely. One older woman stepped forward with a warm smile. "Welcome, dear. I'm Maria. I handle the kitchen and housekeeping. If you need anything, you come to me, all right?" Emily felt relieved to see someone kind. "Thank you," she said softly. Maria gently placed a hand on her arm. "Don't worry. You'll settle in just fine." Daniel gestured for Emily to follow him as he walked toward the house. "You'll be staying in one of the guest rooms," he said. "You're not here as a servant. You will help with work, yes, but you will be treated with respect." Emily nodded, grateful for his clarity. She had been nervous about how she would be treated, but his words gave her a small sense of peace. Inside the house, the air was cool and filled with the faint smell of wood and fresh flowers. The furniture looked handmade, strong, and polished. The walls held pictures of horses, landscapes, and one or two family portraits. Emily glanced at them but didn't say anything. She wanted to understand this place before asking questions. Daniel showed her a room on the second floor. It was simple but comfortable. A small bed, a window overlooking the ranch, a wooden table, and a closet. Emily set her bag down on the bed, unsure what to do next. "You can rest for a little while," Daniel said. "After that, I'll introduce you to the tasks you can help with. Nothing too heavy." Emily nodded. "Thank you." He paused for a moment before speaking again. "I know you came here because of a difficult situation. I want you to know that I appreciate your courage. Not many people would step forward the way you did." Emily lowered her gaze, suddenly shy. "I just did what I had to do." Daniel gave a small, thoughtful nod. "Still, it takes strength." Then he stepped out and closed the door gently. Emily sat on the bed and let out the breath she had been holding. Everything around her felt new, strange, and uncertain. But she also sensed that this place held more calmness than she expected. She looked out of the window, watching the horses running freely, and her heart softened a little. After a short rest, she went downstairs where Maria waited for her. "Come, dear," Maria said. "Let me show you around." Emily followed her as she pointed out the kitchen, storage areas, and gardens. The ranch ran smoothly, with each worker knowing exactly what to do. They all seemed busy, but their movements were steady and calm. Emily sensed that this place followed a rhythm, one she hoped she could learn. Maria took her to the garden behind the house. Rows of vegetables and herbs grew in neat lines. "You'll help me here sometimes," Maria said. "It's peaceful work, and you'll enjoy it." Emily touched the leaves gently and felt a small smile forming. The garden reminded her of home, of the days she used to help her father plant seeds. Later, Daniel found her and said, "Come with me. I'll show you the stables." They walked together toward the large wooden barn. Inside, horses stood in their stalls, each one strong and beautifully groomed. The air smelled of hay and warm earth. Emily didn't know much about horses, but she admired their grace. A young worker named Lucas waved at her. "Hello, so you're the new helper." He seemed cheerful and friendly. "Don't worry, these horses are gentle." Daniel nodded toward Emily. "Lucas will teach you how to feed them and clean the stalls. You won't handle anything dangerous." Emily looked at the horses nervously. "I'll try my best." Daniel nodded. "That's all I ask." As the day passed, Emily helped Maria in the kitchen, carried light baskets from the storage room, and learned small tasks around the ranch. She worked carefully, wanting to prove that she was not a burden. The workers noticed her effort and slowly warmed up to her. During the evening, she stepped outside for some fresh air. The sky was turning soft orange as the sun began to set. The ranch looked almost magical under the warm light. She watched the horses run, their silhouettes moving gracefully against the sky. Daniel stood a short distance away, checking the fences with one of the workers. Emily didn't mean to stare, but she noticed that he worked just as hard as everyone else. He didn't act like a wealthy owner who only gave orders. He carried tools, lifted heavy wood, and listened carefully to his team. For a wealthy man, he seemed surprisingly humble. When he finally walked back toward the house, he saw Emily standing by the fence. "How was your first day?" he asked. Emily thought for a moment before answering. "Different, but not bad." Daniel smiled slightly. "That's good to hear. You did well today." A soft breeze passed between them. Emily felt something gentle and warm in his voice, something she wasn't sure how to describe. Later at dinner, the workers gathered around the long table. Maria served warm food and encouraged Emily to eat more. The workers asked her small, friendly questions about her village and her home. Emily answered politely, though she stayed quiet most of the time. She didn't want to draw too much attention. Daniel sat at the end of the table, speaking calmly with the foreman. Yet every now and then, Emily felt his gaze shift toward her, as if making sure she was comfortable. She didn't know why, but it made her feel safer. After dinner, Emily returned to her room, exhausted but content. She sat by the window, watching the stars appear one by one in the sky. The ranch was calm at night, filled with the distant sounds of horses and the soft rustling of leaves. For the first time since leaving her home, she felt a sense of quiet peace inside her. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know whether she would make mistakes or struggle with new tasks. But she knew she would try. As she lay down to sleep, her thoughts drifted to her father, hoping he was resting well. Then her thoughts shifted to Daniel, the man she had feared at first, yet who had shown her more kindness than she expected. She closed her eyes slowly, unaware that her life on the ranch was only beginning, and that her presence there was already starting to change more than just her own fate. The next few days on the ranch passed quietly, but slowly, something inside Emily began to change. At first, she felt like a stranger who was only there because of a contract. But as she learned more about the work, the people, and especially Daniel, she began to feel a new kind of comfort. Not complete comfort, but the beginning of it. Every morning she woke before sunrise and stepped out into the cool air. The ranch looked peaceful at that early hour. The horses moved slowly in their stalls, the birds sang softly, and the workers greeted each other with tired but genuine smiles. Emily found herself becoming part of that routine, even though she had only been there for a short time. One morning, as she carried a bucket of feed, she heard footsteps behind her. Daniel walked up, dressed in his usual ranch clothes, simple but always neat. His presence was calm and steady, and she found herself learning to breathe easier when he was near. "You're up early again," he said. Emily smiled lightly. "There's a lot to do." Daniel nodded. "You don't have to push yourself too hard. You're doing fine." Emily looked down at the bucket in her hands. "I want to help." You gave me a place here even though I came because of something difficult. I want to do my part." Daniel seemed to think about her words for a moment. "You're not here as punishment," he said gently. "I hope you understand that." She lifted her eyes slowly and met his. "I'm starting to understand." He nodded, his eyes softening just a little before he walked with her toward the stables. She didn't know why, but when he spoke to her, she felt something different, something warmer than simple kindness. Later that day, Emily worked alongside Lucas in the stables. Lucas was cheerful and loved to talk, and Emily appreciated how he made the work feel lighter. "Daniel trusts you," Lucas said at one point. Emily blinked in surprise. "Trusts me? I've only been here a short time." Lucas shrugged. "He notices everything. If he didn't trust you, he wouldn't let you help with the horses. He's careful about who works close to them." Emily didn't know how to respond. She looked across the stable and saw Daniel speaking to another worker. His expression was serious but kind. She wondered what he really thought about her. Did he see her as someone responsible, someone useful, or someone he had only accepted because he felt it was the right thing to do? When her tasks were done, Emily took a moment to sit outside near the garden. The late afternoon sun warmed her face, and she closed her eyes briefly. She missed her father, but she felt grateful that he didn't have to worry about the debt anymore, not as long as she kept doing her part. After a moment, she sensed someone nearby and opened her eyes. Daniel stood a few feet away, holding 2 glasses of cold lemonade. "You look tired," he said quietly. "Thought you could use this." Emily accepted the glass, surprised. "Thank you. You didn't have to." "I know," he said simply, "but I wanted to." They sat on the wooden bench near the garden. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Emily stared at the fields stretching wide in front of her. She could feel Daniel's presence next to her, steady and respectful. Finally, she asked softly, "Why did you buy my father's debt?" Daniel looked straight ahead instead of at her. "Because the lender who originally gave it to him wasn't honest. He tried to trick many people. When I found out, I bought several of his contracts so I could deal with the situations fairly." Emily slowly nodded. "So you were trying to help people?" "In a way," Daniel said. "But sometimes helping comes with difficult choices." She thought about his words. "Did you expect my father to send me instead of himself?" Daniel turned to face her. "No. I was expecting him to come. When you stepped forward instead, it surprised me." Emily lowered her gaze. "I didn't want him to suffer." "He's all I have." Daniel's voice softened. "You're a good daughter." She didn't respond, but his words warmed her heart in a way she didn't expect. As days became weeks, Emily grew more confident in her work. She learned how to handle the horses better, how to help in the gardens, and how to manage small tasks around the ranch house. Maria praised her often, saying she brought a gentle feeling to the place. One evening, while helping Maria wash dishes, the older woman said, "Daniel seems different since you arrived." Emily looked up quickly. "Different? How?" Maria smiled knowingly. "He talks more, smiles more. The ranch has been quiet for years, especially after he lost someone close. Your presence brings a brightness here." Emily felt her heart squeeze. She didn't want to assume anything. "Maybe he's just relieved that the ranch work is going well," Maria chuckled softly. "Dear, sometimes people change because someone comes into their life at the right time. You don't see it yet, but Daniel does." Emily felt a warm blush rise on her cheeks. She didn't know what to say, so she remained silent, her hands moving through the warm water slowly. That night, Emily sat by her window again. She looked toward the stables where Daniel was still working, even though the sky was dark. He was repairing a fence, moving with careful strength. She admired how he never acted above others, even though he owned so much. She wondered what kind of life he had lived, what pain he carried, what secrets stayed behind his quiet eyes. One afternoon, a week later, Emily was helping Lucas clean a stable when Daniel approached them. He handed her a small notebook. "I found this in the office," he said. "It belonged to my mother. She used to write small notes about the ranch work. I thought you might like it. It could help you learn faster." Emily opened the notebook. The pages were old but neatly written. She traced the words with her finger gently. "It's beautiful. Are you sure I can use it?" Daniel nodded. She would have liked someone like you reading it. Something warm filled her chest. She felt honored. As time passed, Emily and Daniel found themselves talking more. Sometimes while walking the fields, sometimes while working near each other, and other times simply sitting quietly and sharing moments without words. She learned that behind his calmness was a man who had endured loss, but still carried kindness, even if he hid it carefully. One day, while fixing a wooden stall door together, Daniel accidentally brushed his hand against hers. It was a light touch, barely a second, but Emily felt her breath stop. Daniel hesitated too, as if he had felt something he didn't expect. Their eyes met briefly before they both looked away, pretending to focus on their work. That small moment stayed in her mind all day. At dinner that night, she noticed Daniel seemed quieter, as if he was thinking about something he couldn't say. She felt the same. She didn't understand her feelings completely, but she could sense that something between them was slowly changing, becoming deeper, gentler, more meaningful. And yet, Emily held her emotions close. She worried about the difference between their lives. She worried she was only there because of a debt. She wasn't sure if she was allowed to feel anything more. Still, each time Daniel looked at her, she felt something shift inside her, something warm and hopeful. She didn't know it yet, but Daniel felt the same. Emily was becoming someone important to him, someone whose kindness had quietly touched his heart in a way he had not expected. And though neither of them said it out loud, something powerful was growing between them, hidden beneath their daily routines, waiting for the right moment to show itself. The next phase of his life slowly arrived like an unexpected sunrise. Nothing dramatic happened in one day, but small things began to change his thinking. He started noticing how his routine had become dull and predictable. Every morning felt the same. Every evening ended the same way. And every week passed without giving him anything new to remember. He was living but not truly feeling alive. This realization did not come suddenly. It grew in his mind like a quiet voice that became louder each week. One day, while sitting alone, he asked himself a simple question. Is this the life I really want? He did not have the answer, but he knew he had to search for one. This was the moment when his journey began, an inner journey that pushed him to look beyond comfort and see the possibilities waiting outside his routine. He started paying attention to small things he had ignored earlier. He noticed how the people around him were changing, growing, learning, and moving forward. Some were starting new jobs, some were opening small businesses, some were learning new skills, and some were simply improving their mindset every day. Watching them made him think about his own life. He realized he had spent too long standing at the same place while everyone else kept moving ahead. Still, he did not feel discouraged. Instead, he felt motivated. It was as if life was gently reminding him, it is never too late to start again. This thought stayed with him and gave him the courage to explore new directions. In the beginning, he didn't know where to start, so he focused on something he had been ignoring for years: himself. He began waking up a little earlier, even if only by 20 minutes. During those 20 minutes, he sat quietly and reflected on the goals he had once dreamed of. He wrote them down in a notebook. Seeing them on paper made them feel real again. Every day, He tried to do one small thing that brought him closer to a better version of himself. It could be reading a few pages of a book, learning a new word, going for a short walk, or practicing a skill he had forgotten he enjoyed. These small steps did not change his life immediately, but they changed the way he looked at life. He also faced challenges. Change is never smooth. Some days he felt tired and unmotivated. Some days he doubted whether any of this effort would lead to anything meaningful. But he had already made a promise to himself. Even on difficult days, he kept moving, even if slowly. He learned that slow progress is still progress, and consistency is more important than speed. As he continued working on himself, something beautiful began to happen. His mindset started to shift. He became more patient, more hopeful, and more confident. He no longer compared himself to others. Instead, he compared himself only to who he was yesterday. This simple change brought him peace and clarity. During this time, he met a few new people who influenced him positively. They were not perfect, but they were genuine. They encouraged him when he felt unsure and supported him when he felt stuck. Their presence reminded him that good people do exist and that meaningful connections can help a person grow in ways they never expected. He also reconnected with an old friend he had lost contact with. Their conversations brought back memories of who he used to be, someone full of dreams, energy, and ambition. Talking to this friend helped him reconnect with that forgotten part of himself. It felt like opening a door he thought was permanently closed. One evening, while sitting outside, he realized something important. The life he wanted was not somewhere far away. It was within reach, but he needed discipline and consistency to get there. This realization gave him a new kind of strength, the strength that comes from clarity. From that day, he changed his routine more seriously. He created a schedule and followed it with dedication. He started learning new skills, watching educational videos, practicing writing, and exploring topics he had always been curious about. Slowly, he became more organized and focused. He also started spending more time with his family. The warmth of their presence reminded him of what truly mattered. Simple conversations, shared meals, and moments of laughter added balance to his life. He understood that success is not just about achievements. It is also about maintaining meaningful relationships. The more he grew, the more he understood himself. He realized that the struggles he had faced in earlier years were not meant to break him, but to prepare him. Every disappointment had taught him something. Every hardship had shaped his character. Every delay had redirected him toward a better path. There were moments when he felt emotional, not because he was sad, but because he finally felt himself changing. Change can be soft and gentle, but it can also be powerful enough to transform a person's entire life. He was experiencing both at the same time. One night, he looked at his reflection in the mirror and saw a version of himself he could finally be proud of. Not because everything was perfect, but because he had learned to keep going, no matter what. He had learned to guide himself even when no one else was there to guide him. He began appreciating the power of patience. He understood that success does not bloom overnight. It blossoms slowly, like a plant that grows leaf by leaf. He learned that life rewards those who stay consistent, even when no one is watching. Over the next few months, he noticed significant changes. His mindset was stronger, his goals clearer, his habits better, and his confidence higher. The people around him also noticed a difference in his energy. He had become calmer, wiser, and more focused. He continued moving forward with curiosity. Every new thing he learned added value to his life. Every challenge he faced made him wiser. Every small achievement boosted his confidence. He was not the same person anymore. He had transformed. But the most important change happened inside his heart. He stopped doubting himself. He stopped thinking he was behind in life. He stopped worrying about what others thought of him. Instead, he learned to trust the timing of his own journey. He understood that everyone has their own path. Some people start early, some start late. Some people achieve things quickly, some take time. What matters is not when you start, but how committed you are once you begin. And he had finally begun. As days passed, his life continued improving. He felt grateful for the strength he gained, the lessons he learned, and the opportunities he discovered. He realized that sometimes life closes certain doors not to punish us, but to push us toward the right one. Looking back, he understood that everything he had gone through was necessary to bring him to this moment. His struggles became stepping stones. His disappointments became lessons. His challenges became motivation. This phase of his life taught him that growth is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, slow, and gentle. But it is always valuable. And now, he was ready for the next chapter, stronger, wiser, and more hopeful than ever. After months of steady progress, a new chapter opened in his life, one that felt brighter, calmer, and more meaningful. He had changed from the inside, and this inner change began shaping his outer world as well. Every day started with a fresh sense of purpose. He no longer woke up with confusion or heaviness. Instead, he woke up with a quiet motivation, a peaceful confidence that guided his steps. He had learned to appreciate the small things that once felt ordinary. A cup of tea in the morning felt comforting. A short walk outside felt refreshing. A simple conversation felt valuable. He had become more aware of the beauty of everyday life, and this awareness brought a softness to his personality that others also noticed. People around him could see the difference. They saw how he handled situations calmly, how he spoke with clarity, how his thoughts had become more mature and stable. Some people even asked him for advice, and he offered help with kindness, never pretending to be perfect. He only shared what he had learned through his experiences, the lessons that shaped him. He also became more selective about how he spent his time. He avoided unnecessary distractions and focused on activities that contributed to his growth. He read more, learned more, and practiced more. He knew that consistency was his biggest strength now. Even if he learned a little each day, it still moved him forward. During this time, he set new goals for himself. These goals were not unrealistic or impossible. They were practical, meaningful, and aligned with the future he wanted. He divided them into small steps so they would not overwhelm him. Each step he completed brought him closer to the life he imagined. He also improved his communication skills. He listened more and spoke only when needed. This made his words more thoughtful and impactful. He realized that understanding someone is more important than proving a point. This new way of interacting helped him build stronger and healthier relationships. There were moments when he sat alone and reflected on how far he had come. He remembered the days when he felt lost, confused, and unsure about everything. Now, he felt stable and hopeful. The difference between the two versions of himself made him feel proud, not arrogant, just proud that he didn't give up. One of the biggest changes in his life was his ability to forgive. He forgave himself for his past mistakes. He forgave people who unintentionally hurt him. This forgiveness did not remove the memories, but it removed the emotional weight he carried. He learned that holding on to old pain only stops a person from moving forward. Forgiving did not mean forgetting. It meant freeing himself from the things that no longer defined him. As he became emotionally stronger, his focus shifted toward building a better future. He started exploring opportunities he had once ignored. He learned new skills online, practiced them regularly, and slowly got better. Each new skill added a layer of confidence to his personality. He enjoyed the process of learning because it made him feel alive and capable. His mindset had developed so much that even failure did not scare him anymore. Instead of feeling discouraged, he now saw failure as feedback. If something didn't work, he analyzed why it didn't work, and then tried again with better planning. This attitude made him unstoppable in his journey of improvement. Slowly, people who once doubted him began respecting him. They saw his progress, his effort, and his discipline. But he didn't do any of this to prove himself to others. He did it for his own growth, his own peace, and his own dreams. The respect he received was just a bonus. One evening, he sat on the rooftop, looking at the sky filled with soft stars. He felt a sense of calmness that he had never felt before. As the cool wind touched his face, he realized something important. Life becomes easier when you stop rushing and start trusting the process. He finally understood that everything takes time, and he no longer felt impatient or restless. During this peaceful phase, he strengthened his connection with his family. He spent more time with them, helped them whenever he could, and shared his thoughts with them openly. These moments brought warmth to his home and made him feel supported. Family had always been important to him, but now he appreciated them even more. He also developed a habit of journaling. Every night, he wrote about his day, what he learned, what he felt, and what he wanted to achieve next. Writing helped him stay organized and emotionally balanced. It allowed him to release his thoughts and reflect on them with clarity. Journaling became like a silent friend who listened without judgment. As the weeks passed, he noticed something else. He had gained emotional resilience. Things that once bothered him no longer affected him deeply. He had learned to respond calmly instead of reacting quickly. This emotional strength helped him handle challenges with maturity. His confidence grew naturally, not because everything in his life was perfect, but because he trusted himself. He trusted his decisions, his instincts, and his ability to handle whatever life brought his way. This quiet confidence became one of his most powerful qualities. While working on himself, he also learned the importance of balance. He realized that focusing only on work or only on self-improvement could create stress. So he made time for relaxation, hobbies, and enjoyable activities. Sometimes he listened to music, sometimes he watched motivational videos, and sometimes he simply sat in silence. These small breaks refreshed his mind and kept him energized. His perspective on life had also changed. He no longer believed that life is a race. Instead, he saw it as a long journey with many paths, turns, and opportunities. He stopped comparing his progress with others and focused only on his lane. This helped him stay calm, positive, and focused. He set clear priorities for himself. His first priority was inner peace. His second was growth. His third was maintaining healthy relationships. When these three priorities aligned, his life naturally became smoother and more meaningful. He also learned how to deal with overthinking. Whenever his mind became too loud, he slowed down, took deep breaths, and reminded himself that not every thought deserves attention. He learned to let go of unnecessary worries and focus on what he could control. This simple practice saved him from countless moments of stress. One of the most beautiful changes he experienced was gratitude. He started appreciating the blessings in his life. Whether it was good health, supportive family, or peaceful nights, he felt thankful for everything. Gratitude made him humble and grounded. It reminded him that happiness does not always come from big achievements. Sometimes it comes from noticing the small miracles around us. As he continued growing, new opportunities appeared in his life. These opportunities were not magic. They were the result of his hard work, consistency, and improved mindset. He grabbed these chances with confidence and made the most of them. Some opportunities pushed him out of his comfort zone, but he welcomed them because he knew growth often begins where comfort ends. Through all of this, he remained true to himself. He stayed kind, humble, and understanding. He avoided unnecessary conflicts and focused on maintaining peace in his life. He built a life that felt meaningful, not just impressive. One day, he looked back at his journey and felt deeply emotional, not because he was sad, but because he was grateful for how far he had come. He realized that every struggle, every silent night, every moment of confusion had played a role in shaping the person he had become. He didn't regret anything. Even the difficult moments were part of his transformation. Now he was standing stronger, wiser, calmer, and more hopeful than ever. He had built a life filled with purpose, discipline, peace, and direction. His journey was far from over, but he was ready for whatever came next. He understood that life will always bring challenges, but he now had the mindset to face them with strength. He had discovered his inner power, something that stayed with him no matter what. And with that inner power guiding him, he stepped forward into the future with confidence, clarity, and an open heart.